Hi, and welcome to our Ask Me Anything session with Morse Micro. Over to you for a lightning talk, Marin.
Thanks so much, Britt, for having us. Feels like not too long ago, Morse Micro was at Cicada Innovations as a resident there, I think just less than 2 years back. So definitely a lot has happened since then. Before I get into that, I wanted to introduce myself. As Britt said, I'm Marin. I'm head of people and talent here at Morse Micro. So looking after everything from, growing the team, employee culture, and also addressing all of the people changes that goes with a rapidly growing business. I've also asked my colleague Shidij to join today.
So hey guys, my name is Kshitij Jain. I started at Morse Micro in August this year, and I started as in the graduate program. So I recently got a full-time opportunity in the firmware team, and yeah, I'm super excited to start here.
So just save all of your tough questions for Shidij then. But yeah, so I think Britt did such a thorough introduction, but just to talk a bit more about Morse and our journey so far. So we were founded in 2016 by Michael Danil and Andy Terry, both Broadcom engineers at that time, working on the next generation and then the next generation of Wi-Fi microchips. As any brilliant engineer, that gets boring. What's next? What can we do? So back in 2016, there's a new Wi-Fi standard that came out, and that's kind of what's really helped us make this next generation Wi-Fi product. So using the new Wi-Fi Halo standard, which is a sub-gigahertz standard versus you might have heard of 5G and other types of Wi-Fi standards. So this is one really focused on solving the problems of IoT. So we all hear about like smart cities, smart buildings, but none of that's truly possible yet because there's not really the hardware to support that. So with our chips, we're able to connect thousands of devices, and that's a secure connection with up to a kilometer range, and that's even for things like video cameras and all the applications that you can imagine that we can connect in the future. So yeah, like I said, 2 years ago, we're residents of Cicada. Since then, raised a Series A. Just recently announced, you might have seen last week, that we raised our Series A2, which has just enabled our continued growth. We're actually in our new headquarters as well, which is, we just moved 2 days ago, so settling into those premises. Because over the past 4 years, we've gone from 22 people to over 75 and open offices around the globe. So definitely, it's been a wild ride. And I think just talking about, what it's like to work for this company, I think the thing that really sets us apart is a lot of people with engineering backgrounds, or they don't get the opportunity elsewhere to really work on a product that's being developed by scratch. And all the exciting problems and new challenges to solve, and then all the way through to production. So, we have our own chips, we have our own lab, and to be able to actually physically hold what you've been designing from start to finish is quite unique. And so also I'm here as well to chat about our new graduate program. So a lot of people say like, oh, I want to join Morse Micro, how do I get into this company? So we started this graduate program, and it's not for, it's for people that don't have experience in the chip design field. So we're targeting people that have completed master's degrees, PhD degrees, might have a year of experience after that, and want to transition that knowledge and actually understand that this industry, because it's actually quite a lot of training on the job, which we're happy to provide through that program. So it's 6 months, and it starts with a rotation through all of our engineering teams. So you spend time in software team, in the hardware team, in the digital IC design team, in the analog team, and the systems team. And then throughout that, you gain all the experience, and then also kind of find your home and where you shine. So maybe Shidij can explain or if you have any light bulb moments to share or something to takeaways from the program.
So the one really good thing that I found about the program was like you can learn about the product from the basic building blocks, basically, like how it's developed to the point where you actually use it for applications like connecting to two different devices or just sending a video feed from one end to another, and that's like over a couple of kilometers away. So once when you understand the whole process, I think it's really enlightening to like to see how those small building blocks can actually be a part of something so big and something so useful in the future as well.
I do remember Kshitij, working on the firmware and then going out to the Sydney Botanical Gardens with a backpack on of electronics to do range testing across from the Botanical Gardens to the Sydney across Harbour Bridge. So really great place to be developing this technology too. And that's why we also are really proud of our global team. So we have people from over 26 countries. We recruit the best talent from around the world, and we're happy to support people to relocate to Australia, as our co-founders are from different countries. Kshitij is, I am. So it's a really place where we kind of pride ourselves on that diversity, and I think it what makes a great place to learn from each other on other things besides just technology. With that, I will pass it back to Britt, and happy to answer questions from anyone.
Marin, thank you so much. That was absolutely awesome. And Kshitij, thank you too. And so thanks for setting the scene. Let's unpack this a little bit. Marin, tell me, would you care to share a little bit about your journey, your professional journey to date?
Yeah, so well, my background's organizational psychology. I've always been fascinated by company culture, and we spend so much time at work. So how do we make that enjoyable and like where people can thrive and love what they're doing? So I kind of started out in like training and kind of large scale project coordination in New Zealand, actually. That's where I completed my studies. I'm originally from the US. Then I moved to Australia as a backpacker, and on the way back to the US, and I found Cicada Innovations, where I was head of community and talent. And I owe so much to the wonderful community there and people like Britt and everyone I met. So there just got a passion for really deep technology and being involved in companies that are going to make a difference in the future. Just joined Morse Micro, where I met the founders, and they're going through this really pivotal time of change. So they just closed Series A and just really needed that help to keep their company culture as they scaled. So that's always been something super important to our co-founders, Michael and Andy. And everyone kind of thought it was interesting to have a head of people or HR person when you're 23 people, but I think it's proved to make a big difference as we've scaled and have had no regrettable turnover, anything like that, which is really awesome to see us scaling sustainably. Now I'm here, and something that was always important is kind of in Australia, where we always talk about like a limited talent pool. So yes, we can bring people from overseas, but we have to also give back. And if we want there to be talented engineers in this industry, we need to actually give that training to people. So that's kind of why we started that program, as well as make it available to international students and be really open with that and support people who also want to stay in Australia post-study. So I think that's another important thing that people ask is like, well, I'm just graduated, but I'm on a, post-study visa. Can you support that? Yes, we do support that, because that's in line with our mission as well, that borders don't mean anything to us too. It's about finding the best engineers that are really eager to just get amongst it and give it their all.
Yeah, that's awesome, Marin. And I must say that I really, really enjoyed working with you at Cicada, and it's just fantastic to see that transition from Cicada Innovations into one of the amazing scaling companies like Morse Micro, where, I know you probably just got a tap on the shoulder just quietly from the founders and started discussions privately, but I can't iterate enough how important it is to kind of build networks and attend as many industry and networking events as you can, because your next career step could be achieved very, very quietly and off market like yours, Marin. And you've done absolutely amazing things at Morse Micro. And I really like to get back to that point. The co-founders brought you on when Morse Micro was a team of 22, and now it's 75 plus. So you've employed 50 people over the last 2 years. So it's quite amazing that you've done that. So I'd love to know a little bit about your first hire, how that was, and your latest hire.
Yeah. Well, actually, right before this call, I was just sending some paperwork to the US for our last hire in the US for our Irvine office, which was actually just a referral from someone that has worked with another team member there. So I think that's helped a lot is how strong our networks are. So I think I mentioned, like, this industry is very niche. So around the globe, there's a limited talent pool, which, helps and hurts, right? It helps because we kind of know who has this experience across the big companies around the world. And it also means that our engineers are extremely well connected, and that really helps us with pulling people in once they share how much they love working here, and that kind of helps. I honestly cannot remember our first hire. My first few months in the last few years have been just we have interviews today, tomorrow. It's really nonstop. It's because we have 6 different engineering teams, and we're hiring across all of them consistently for the last 2 years. So whoever it was, I'm sorry, I don't want you to feel unspecial if anyone from our team's listening to this. But yeah, so it's been great in that sense.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, Marin. That's awesome. And Kshitij, how about yourself? Can you tell me a little bit about your background and how did you find yourself in the graduate program at Morse Micro?
So in 2019, I completed my graduation from ANU. So I completed my graduation in Mechatronics engineering. So it was something like I was a lot inclined towards the embedded side of nature. After I graduated, I learned a lot about embedded systems. So from there on, I started out as a graduate engineer at Baraha for 6 months. And then from there on, because the whole COVID struck and they also had to just lay off a few people because of the whole COVID scenario. So after that, like a couple of months, I kind of was hunting into jobs, was kind of looking where I want to go. And then, I found Morse Micro that they also having this graduate program. And once when I read about the site, I was like, this is something that I actually want to do, because embedded is something it is a very basic for every person that we kind of it's a basic need for every person in the world today, from basic television, phones, everything runs on embedded systems, and getting hands-on experience and learning how to develop these devices is really a challenge as well, and plus super exciting. So definitely at that point, I knew that Morse Micro would be a very good place for me to kind of get the experience that I need, and the kind of interest that I have perfectly aligns with this organization. So I was super excited when I kind of got the opportunity of the grad program in Morse Micro, and couldn't say more. I couldn't be more happy than that.
Oh, fantastic. Baraja and Morse Micro, 2 knockout Australian deep tech companies. And it just goes to show you all the great career opportunities that are at your doorstep here in Australia. Can you tell me a little bit more about the graduate program, how you found it, how it was structured, and what support you got through the program and outside the program, and what's it like working for Morse Micro?
So when you start off the graduate program, it's you get into a rotation with different teams, and all of these guys are experts in their own field. They're they know the thing, what they are kind of doing. So once when you get to know, because for me, I had never had any hands-on experience in kind of developing a semiconductor from scratch. So learning all these minute things that you need to take care from the systems team, from the firmware team, from the digital team, from the applications team, it kind of gives you an insight on how the whole product works and how you got to like start building if you want to ever build one from scratch, how you're going to like start and the points that you need to kind of take care through the whole process. And apart from that, I guess the graduate program also helps you to kind of understand which area you're kind of more inclined towards and kind of understand like, okay, this is the team that I want to work in for the whole, like for the rest of my time out here. So yeah, and apart from like outside of the graduate program, I would say like if ever like Morse Micro, I feel like is very open. Everybody out here is very open, very friendly. So if ever you have any doubts, any problems, like you could just pop up to anybody, Marin here. They're like super good at solving problems and coming up with solutions. So yeah, like I guess the whole team together, when you see it as a collective group, we kind of like perform like very strongly. So yeah, that feels nice.
Sounds great. And knowing Marin, you'd have a lot of fun there as well, and a great culture and shared visions. So you're building a knockout company, that's for sure. So since establishing in 2016, two co-founder company has grown to 75 plus people with offices here in Australia, China, India, and USA, and then with capping off your Series A raise of over $40 million. It's been quite a ride. So you're making a quantum leap in Wi-Fi technology. So can you tell me more? How might, say, I use this technology in a domestic situation? So it's no more drop-ups from the Wi-Fi downstairs, or how might we, people might think about using this technology in the future?
Yeah, so I guess one thing might be like in your home. Yeah, now if you have like devices around, like you said, things drop off a lot, or like, you know, you can imagine, you don't even think about it, like, oh, I need to turn off my Wi-Fi because I need to do this and I'm too far away. So it could be like your doorbell always working and also video streaming, even though you're like far in like the backyard kind of thing, versus in the past, you might have to, that might be cut out. You might also have like then all of your light bulbs, and like I said, you can have thousands of devices. So you wouldn't need like supplementary access points wherever you go. Do you have one for industrial?
Yep. So like for in the industrial applications, like the industry as you think of it, like today the industry is like spread across a large area of land. So getting a signal from one point to another without wires in a wireless sense is kind of difficult with the help of repeaters if you have. But the Wi-Fi Halo technology is out there like to solve that problem, because you can connect at a long range of distances with extremely low power. So it's not only beneficial on the connection wise, but also on the power saving side, because you can easily like connect up to a couple of kilometers, like almost the whole industry through just one chip that you have.
It's amazing. I'm wondering if, you know, our farmers in remote outback Australia might be able to connect and network their farm and put devices on there and be able to receive inputs into their farmhouse, and utilizing the technology for that.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and the other, like, I think really shows like just the leadership of Morse is that we're right now very pointed with the industries that we're focusing on to begin with. So I think having that really like strategic focus, like on said, like industrial and commercial for now, and then there's so many applications that will be available. So right now, being kind of like laser focused on you know the customers that we're working with and all of that. And then like the world's kind of ours to keep taking over, and definitely so many applications. So yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see. And when will we be getting the technology in our hands?
Very soon.
That's great. Look, I've got so many questions to ask, but so do so many other people. So I'm going to have a look at a few now. Anshua, excuse me if I don't pronounce that right, is asking, what are you looking for when hiring a graduate?
Okay, yeah, that's great. So So we love when people have passion projects on the side. So if you can get your hands on like an FPGA, if you have, you know, made home thermostats, like we want to know, yes, we like, that's great what you've studied, but like we really need to see that there's something you're doing on the side to upskill, whether it's a lot of people we've met have been through like attending conferences, attending our network events. Like these are the people, the grads that we get super excited to hire because they're already just curious about the same things as us. So yeah, like come to us, come to the interview knowing like what we do in and out, and also like where your interests lie, and also like I said, those fun projects that you work on, because that really gets our team excited. Like I said, if you mention you have an FPGA board at home, that's amazing. They're a lot cheaper now these days as well. So yeah, that always helps you stand out.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks, Marin. And Florencia would like to know, Morse seems like a really cool company to work at. What's the work-life balance like? The work-life balance like?
Yeah, so I mean, that's something that's really important. I think it's always a challenge in general when you're a scaling startup. But I think for us, it's always taking that time to, no, I'm sorry, speaker on our end. So I think we have, hold on.
Hi, everyone. We'll just cut back to Marin and Kshitij when...
Sorry, they're testing the emergency alarm. I might mute this for...
Okay, yeah. Morse Micro just moved into their new office 2 days ago. So there's a lot of unpacking and things to sort out, as we can see. So we'll just wait for the beep, beep, whoop, whoops to finish, and then we'll go right back to it. And yeah, so a company that's scaling, they've got fabulous offices. Hello, are we back? No, not
okay, that's done. Sorry, that was very loud. I'm glad we were able to mute that. So, sorry to cut back in. So about work-life balance, I think for us, like as I mentioned, we have a lot of really experienced engineers. So we're not your typical like SaaS company. You know, everyone's kind of a bit actually more mature, might have kids, young families. So we're really flexible with how you get your work done. So for us, it's outcome focused. We know we all have deadlines. We hire people that we trust to do a good job, and then however you do it is the way you do it. So I think that's something, I mean, even Michael has a 4-month-old baby that comes into the office and works on his lap. Like, so I think she's not working, but he's doing most of the work, I think, I hope. Yeah, so that is really important. We have like a social, like a lot of like run club and gym club to promote kind of exercise as well. And we now in our new office have the retreat, so a space if you want to meditate or take some time as well. So yeah.
That's great, Marin. Nang would like to know, what engineering backgrounds do you usually recruit? More specifically, are there roles for Mechatronics engineering graduates?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have, yep. So 2 actually of our last grads had mechatronic background. So it's a good mix of hardware and software. Like I said, we really have that focus on microelectronics within that degree, I would say. And mainly electrical engineering is always good. Computer architecture, you know, computer engineering, software engineering are our main backgrounds we look for, and mechatronics as well, if you kind of have that demonstrated expertise in kind of, yeah, not larger systems, small systems.
Thanks, Marin. And Kshitij, this might be one for you. Congrats on the big milestone. This is from Unsure. How does Wi-Fi Halo improve the efficiency of existing systems? What NM technology are these chips built? And someone else also asks something similar. How does this differ from existing Wi-Fi?
So the existing Wi-Fi, as we know, it works on a 2.4 gigahertz spectrum as well as a 5 gigahertz spectrum. So the Wi-Fi Halo does not work. It works in a sub 1 gigahertz or sub 1 megahertz spectrum. So from there, we get longer range from that. And the whole technology is based as such, it consumes very, very low power. So because all these traditional Wi-Fi's that you see, you have to connect it to an external port, giving it constant supply of power. And it suddenly takes in a lot of power to generate all these 5 gigahertz in the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. But in our technology, when we are increasing the range and keeping the power low, it's almost like a standalone device that you can just put it in anywhere, in any corner of your industry, in any corner of your home, and with the guarantee that you will be able to connect it at the farthest end also. So
Awesome.
And I think to add on that, like, great explanation. Thank you. Could not have said it better myself. And I think like it does improve existing products because if a customer could then offer their product with the longer range and the lower power, that's a huge selling point to them. So we're like a plug and play kind of solution. So we're not making our own products. We're making chips for customers to use, and then that makes their products that much better. So I think that's yeah, useful to know. And behind us, if anyone's wondering, it's a blown up one of our test chips. Yeah, if you want to, that's not the size of it, obviously, that would be very impressive.
TK would like to know, how many applicants do you normally get for your internship program, and what's it like? You know, what's your favorite thing about working at Morse Micro? So, do you want to tell us a little bit more about your graduate program, when you plan to take your next intake, and
yeah, of course. So applications are actually now open. We received around 150 last time, and ended up taking 5 people who have now actually all accepted full-time positions with us. So yeah, and so kind of the interview processes, we'll do I'll give you a call if you're like shortlisted, do kind of initial phone screen, asking your interests and things like that, making sure you have graduated. That's another really important thing is you must be completed with your degree or be able to work with us full time for that 6-month period. It is paid obviously as well. And then you'll be brought in, and we kind of have, it's not meant to be intimidating at all. It's actually like a really collaborative interview, but we actually have different people representing each of the teams that you'd be rotating in. So you get a chance to meet the people you'd be working with, and kind of, and of course, some areas you'll be more experienced in than others, and that's totally fine. But it's the opportunity to get to know the teams and ask those questions. So our next intake will be the 1st of March. So you're able to submit your applications now. And of course, if you do have any questions, I'm always open to speak to you beforehand. So I love it when grads, you know, want to get to know us and reach out. So please do that, or Shidij can answer any questions too. Find him on LinkedIn as well.
That's great. And Angus would like to know, hey Marin, what team building activities do you do, and how often?
Yeah, well, I think like obviously COVID's kind of quieted everything down. Obviously, everything went virtual for a bit, and then we've come back. So we do every Friday we do team lunches together. Obviously, keeping in mind all of the restrictions. And we do company updates as well. People might be sharing a piece of technology or something that interests them at our tech talks. So those might be every couple of weeks. Yeah, we host a range of team building stuff. Tomorrow night, we're actually hosting a semiconductor industry networking event. So for professionals in the field to get to know each other. So it's not just limited at Morse, but a bit wider. So next year though, we're really excited because we kind of have this critical mass where we can start building our own internal community too. So now that everything's kind of lifting as well, and we have a much larger office to actually fit us all in. There's time to get up planning. So I can't wait to tap into the minds of the team though, to see what they want to do. Because it's up to really the people in your company to build that culture. And yeah, or else everyone would be doing yoga all day with me, but it's great to get to know what other people like to do too. So
I'll come and join you there, Marin.
Yeah.
And we actually have Hassan, who's asked quite a few questions. He's based in China, and he'd like to know, what are your plans for expanding in China? And he also wanted to thank you for, or congratulate you on winning 2 awards yesterday as well. So he's got a finger on the pulse for Morse Micro.
Yeah, that's great. We love to hear that we have an international following. So thanks, Hassan, for joining this call from China. That's great. Yeah, so what was the question?
In China,
Oh yeah, sorry. So in China, it will grow. We have field applications engineer team there. So in the next year, I assume we'll probably take on at least 1 or 2 people there. And yeah, so that's kind of our growth plan. So we have 2 engineers there, and that'll probably double within the next year or 2.
Okay. And someone would like to know whether your networking events are limited to professionals or recent graduates. Who can come to your networking events?
They're always open. So like if you are, so they are open. Like I think tomorrow's pretty much at capacity due to COVID restrictions. But in the future, when there aren't number restrictions, everyone is welcome if you're kind of in that field and stuff. So if you do have questions about the graduate program or want to get to know us, reach out. That's probably maybe not the best avenue to like come talk to us about the graduate program. So
that's great. And Marin, you've covered off on the types of the graduates that you're looking for in the specific skill sets and domain expertise. And but what other skills or attributes do you look for in a candidate?
Yeah, so I guess something I always joke about is like smart, but like smart enough to know that you don't know everything. So I think humble is really important for us too. So I think the most brilliant engineers actually are really humble with with their skills and knowledge. So that's super important. Someone that's really like excited about the technology itself. So people that are inclined to be, problem solvers, really love the fact that we're working on new technology, and really that's like one of their main drivers is like the actual problem solving and technology itself. And people that I think are open and kind too, because that just adds to our environment. So definitely no room for egos at Morse Micro, which is quite important. And yeah, I'd say those are kind of the main, personality traits that we look for to make sure that we kind of keep our culture intact.
Thanks, that's great. And the recruitment pathway into Morse Micro these days, is it just via the graduate program, or are there other entry points into the company?
Yeah, we definitely have. So that's a great entry point for people that have never worked in like a semiconductor or relevant company before. But besides that, we are definitely always hiring systems, digital IC design engineers, analog engineers, hardware, like for the right people. Like that's what's great about working at a startup. There's no red tape around things. If we meet someone that has awesome experience that will add new skills to the team, we're happy to take them through and hire them for sure. So we have always keep our up to date and most urgent roles on our website, so you can always look at that. We also have a careers at Morse Micro email. You're welcome to introduce yourself and send through your information if you think that that's not a good fit, but something might be. And then we always keep that information on file. So if it's not the right time, we might let you know, we actually don't need that now, but we're looking for that kind of person, and with your skills in like 6 to 8 months, we can keep in touch. So yeah, there's definitely multiple ways to enter and join us.
So people should reach out to you and keep tabs on your website and stay in touch with you.
Yeah, definitely. We always are refreshing like what's up to like what we're looking for. So definitely keep a pulse out there. I love when people reach out and they're like, oh, I just saw this job open. That sounds like me. And that makes me really excited when people are kind of keeping an eye out. But
that's great. And where do you see the company and team going in the next 12 months and next 5 years?
Well, I guess I can only guess in 5 years. Yeah, that's really exciting. But in the next year, we will probably aim to, definitely grow significantly, break the 100 people mark. Like I said, we're really focusing kind of not just expanding in Australia, but around our global offices too. So that's quite exciting. In 5 years, yeah, I mean, mass producing our chips and all of the, growth that comes with that will be super exciting to see. So I can't wait to see what happens in 5 years. We've already moved offices twice in this last 2 years. Like I said, it's who knows at this point. I think you gotta keep like 3 steps ahead, but not get too, distracted by the really far away, or it might get a bit overwhelming at that point. So.
No, that's very much about the challenges and rewards of working in a startup company, isn't it? It's very fast and seat of your pants and adopt and adapt very quickly. It's great. I had a very technical question here. I'm not sure whether it's one for this forum, but we'll go with it. If not, I suggest that these technical questions, please ask them directly via the website.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what the Halo solution has any effect on the Wi-Fi bandwidth, or is it similar to low RAN WAN solution with bandwidth restrictions? How much scope do you think this technology has in the future?
So according like on the bandwidth side, no, I wouldn't say that it doesn't have any restrictions at this point of time. But yeah, like on the scope of this particular technology, if I speak, like if you can consider like if every device, every IoT device that we have today or currently running in this whole world, if all had this Halo chips inside them, say you are like probably 2 kilometers away from your home, you would still be able to continue to like control your house from that distance with the Wi-Fi network. So yeah, it should be like compared to the WAN and LAN other networks, the Wi-Fi Halo does prove to be a game changer in this kind of scenarios, because you are avoiding all the wiring, the wiring cost and all the messy cablings that you have to do for like kilometers and kilometers. So yeah.
Kshitij, I really can't wait to get a Morse Micro chip into my hands and solve so many problems, and really, yeah, very, very excited about it. But I think we'll end on this question. And what is your advice for an applicant looking to join the Morse Micro team? Marin?
Yeah, so I guess I think just conveying like your passion in general is always really important. So there's a lot of people graduating with similar degrees, and there's so many different areas you can enter in once you have your degree. So why do you want to join this company? What makes you stand out? Like, what do you like doing, and what will you then in turn bring to the company? So I think it's always great to, when people apply, I do read hundreds of CVs. It's like what extra and unique skills and value will you bring? It's great to think about it in that lens, instead of thinking about it as like, I can do these things, I've done these things, I have these skills. It's like, how do you translate that and then really share yourself in the best light, and kind of spend that time to write a personalized cover letter, spend that time to look on LinkedIn and at least address a cover letter to one person that works in the company. That kind of stuff just goes so much farther than you think, and we really appreciate that. So.
Sure does, Marin. And thank you so much for your time today and for all the great advice. And thank you, Kshitij, as well. And thanks to all that has joined us today, and for those of you who will watch this later online. And thank you all for joining me today. Bye for now.